Good morning, everyone. So nice to see you this morning online and all these dear faces, some familiar, some of you new to us here. And just to welcome you. Um, I'm just going to be reading the names here, and I can see that sometimes I may not be getting the name right because the name doesn't always match who's on the screen, right? But yeah, welcome Anna Marie, Aparna, Connor, David, Judith, Marie, Mary, Kylie, Nancy, Mary, Nancy, Patty, Scott, but I think not Scott. We'll figure that out in a minute. I know you though. Yes. Raylan, of course, Steve. Susan, Suze, Valerie, hi Val, Carla, Holly, I see, Lauren, Linda, Marie, Max, and Roseanne. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to have this intimate group this morning. It's lovely. Or midday, as the case may be, depending on where you are, midday, evening. Here where I am, it's morning. I'm in Washington State this morning, looking out on a beautiful, very, oh, how do I do this? This way. Very rainy, rainy morning here. A lot of Douglas fir out the window. That's where I'm at the moment. Visiting some friends here. First time I've ever been in Eastern Washington. And it's really beautiful here. I'm really struck by how beautiful it is. So why don't we begin with some practice together? And I was just saying to someone the other day that I think my favorite thing of all the things that I do in life is to practice with sangha. It's just my favorite. And I've been so heartened. I remember, back during the pandemic, just being I was very skeptical at first that this would work, that we could practice together and feel each other, and how wrong I was about that. I just was such a skeptic at the very beginning. I'd never done this on Zoom. I'd never done Dharma work on Zoom before the beginning of the pandemic. And I'm so grateful to have discovered that the energy field that we create together as Sangha is just as powerful when we're together online as it is in person. And there's, of course, pluses and minuses to everything, but one of the pluses about being together like this to practice on Zoom is that we can, just intimate with each other's faces and with our spaces, that we can kind of feel each other's spaces and that we can bring Sangha right into our home. So it starts to bless the home. I feel that happens every time after I practice with Sangha online like this, that whatever space I'm in is changed afterwards. So just so happy to be here with you, doing one of my favorite things in the world. So I like to turn and face the window when I practice on Zoom. So feel free to change your orientation if you'd like, just to give ourselves a rest from the screen. You can keep it in sight. I like to keep everybody out of my peripheral vision. We can remember that we're connected and creating this field for practice. And this morning we're going to be practicing with the body as our place of refuge, this powerful support, this the body as our as our temple, as our portable refuge. There was a great nature yogi, Shapkar, who talks about the body as our retreat hut. Retreat hut is as close as this breathing, vibrant, living animal body. And just to help us create the space to explore this refuge, the body, it's beginning by invoking a refuge with the imagination of, someone, just bringing to mind someone who for you is a kind of a body teacher, a body teacher. And it might be somebody who just their body radiated love, or somebody who carried their body with great dignity and beauty and strength. A body teacher, maybe they taught without words how to be in the body. Animals are great body teachers, maybe an animal, a spirit animal, whatever comes to mind, just letting that be present in your mind's eye, this being, this body teacher. Maybe a few of them are coming through your mind. So just settling on one, bringing one to mind and one into your mind's eye, your heart space, and just communing with this body teacher for a few minutes in the beginning here, feeling their energy, the essence that they embodied, and just letting that radiate towards you, commune with that energy. Receiving the power of this person's embodiment. Or this animal's grace, if it's an animal, their grace and dignity. Letting their presence bless your body in the beginning of your practice. Now, just letting go of that focus on the body teacher and coming down into your own body. This is a dropping down from the thinking mind into your feeling body. Letting your attention float down to the base of your body, where this body meets the cushion or the chair. Notice how down here at the base of the body, you feel gravity, reminding the body you belong here. You're solid. You are stable. You're grounded. And just allow the gravity pulling on your body to pull the stress out of your muscles. And how the ground below accepts what you offer it, what you release. Imagining that even your thoughts have gravity, imagining them dropping as soon as you notice they're swirling, just dropping a thought and letting it float down to dissolve into the earth below, like a pebble floating to the bottom of a pond. Heavy thought. And letting the tension float up from the base of the body to the hips and just feeling how those hips are holding you steady. Like the base of a tree, letting attention move from the hips into the belly, this soft front, noticing this rise of the belly on the in breath, this softening of the belly on the out breath, and the space between the resting. Feeling that natural rhythm of the breath, breath breathing you. And noticing when you get caught by a train of thought and you're taken out of the body, following after the past or running along a train of thinking about the present or anticipating the future. And as you notice that, just on an exhale, coming back into this body is holding you, this grounded refuge. Drawing you back into this present moment, this fresh, cool inhale, this soft, warm exhale, and the stillness between. At some point on an exhale, letting all the sense doors open, like opening all the doors and the windows to your temple. Feeling the skin open, the ears open, the heart open, the eyes open, the sense of smell open, the mind open, grounded, breathing, present, open. As you're ready at your own time, bringing a little movement into your fingers and toes. And you can feel free to join me to stand for a moment, do a little stretch. Can stand with our feet about hip distance apart here. Of course, you can do any stretch that works for you. If you like, you can join me in an inhale and bringing our arms up. Stretch way up towards the sky, reaching up with the fingers. And you can grab a wrist and exhale to the side, getting a half moon stretch. Just a little gentle tug on that wrist. Get a nice stretch in the side body. And inhaling up tall and grabbing that other wrist, exhaling over to the side. Just a little tug there. Nice stretch in the side body. Inhaling up and exhaling over. Inhaling up and one more time over. And one more stretch up to the sky and exhaling into a swan dive. We're going to come over the legs, bringing our head down and just letting gravity take us to the ground. Maybe feeling those fingers on the ground, or you can put them on your ankles or calves, wherever they fall. And if you like, swaying a little back and forth, turning the neck a little back and forth, loosening up the shoulders, loosening up the neck. Nice stretch in the back for the legs. Yeah. And slowly rolling up one vertebrae at a time. And a little bit of shaking of our hands, our legs, neck, chest, face, shaking all the muscles, getting all the joints shaking, wiggling the torso. This is a yoga movement from the Tibetan tradition. Hatruk means shaking the body all over, just like a dog shakes after a bath. Very nice. So let's take a short break and come back in 10 minutes. So that's about, what is that? 10 till the hour, or 9 to the hour. Okay, so we'll see you in just 10 minutes and we'll come back for the teaching. Welcome back, everyone. As we were just practicing together, I was just thinking about how much of our practice of meditation is this training in letting go of our impulse to do. Mm, this impulse that we have that is with us most of the time to follow, to figure out, and to do. And it's not that we shouldn't be doing or figuring out, but we to find a space of just being without the urge to do something is is such a training in itself. And much of what we're doing when we're practicing is slowing down and letting go of the impulse to do. And 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 that is such a profound training by itself, just that, all other things aside. And it involves a lot of restraint and discipline to let go of that impulse to do and to not follow the impulse. So all of you may notice that, right? When we're meditating together online, there are so many competing in your own mind stream, right? There's so many competing impulses. The impulse to get up and go to the refrigerator and to eat, or the impulse um, to get to your to-do list. All the competing impulses, and the impulse to follow after the thinking, to follow after a train of thought, and to take it to its logical conclusion. Thought is so seductive, isn't it? I mean, all of it, it's very seductive, the doing and the enmeshment, so seductive. And yet, what we're doing in practice is learning that we can be just as drawn in as we are to the trains of thinking and to the impulses of doing, just as drawn in to what's happening in the here and now. That there's a whole universe, beautiful, fascinating, rich, um, glorious universe of the now that we're missing when we're on the train of doing, and we're on the train of future, right? We're on the train of the next thing and not really dwelling in this thing, not really fully coming into presence. How much of it is that? I was talking to a friend just yesterday, and he was talking about his to-do list and how the to-do list kind of rules his mind, that his mind is so often on the to-do list. And and we were talking about, okay, maybe it's time to make a to-be list. A to-be list. What would our to-be list look like? Right, our to-do list. On my to-do list, check revisit this particular email. Oh, make this particular change on your calendar. Um, grab your computer and make these notes of things that have to be done in the future. Increase the to-do list. Oh yeah, this to-do leads to that to-do. What if we created the to-be list? Oh, this to be on my to-be list, to be kinder. On my to-be list, to be more present. On my to-be list, to be considerate. On my to-be list, to be patient. Like, what would our to-be list look like if we created one? So, yeah, just a suggestion. So, as an exercise to do sometime, if you're wanting an exercise for post this teaching, making a to-be list. And the to-be list has a lot to do with embodiment. So I've titled this teaching Waking Down. To be list has to do with not what we accomplish, but it's what we are becoming. And I think in some ways that is the essence of the Dharma. It's the essence of spiritual practice and path is what are we choosing to embody? What are we choosing to become? And I think the Dharma has so much more to do with that than anything else, maybe. Coming present and becoming, coming present and this act of becoming, of being, of living into who we want to be, what we want to embody. And of course, there's a bit of planning there, right? A little bit of maybe, there's some to-dos to go with along with the to-bes. Like to be this, I need to do a few things. To be kind, I need to do some things. It's not just about the intention, right? To be patient, I have to do some things. Um, to be joyful, maybe have to set up some conditions for that. So there's some maybe to do's with the to be list. So I'm going to make a to be list. That's what I'm going to do. I haven't done that yet, but I've been reflecting on it lately. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the to be. It's going to go on my to do list to make a to be list. So the today's teaching I titled Waking Down. I think when we first encounter a spiritual path, when I first encountered the spiritual path, I was I was a child actually. My was a Berkeley 1970s ashram filled uh Berkeley. That's where I was growing up. Surrounded by the cults and the ashrams and the human potential movement. So was there in the growing up, but really getting into it in my teenage years and reading about Buddhism and reading about Hinduism and reading about um, these spiritual traditions and this idea of waking up. That the intention, the goal is bodhi. And bodhi means to awaken. It actually means to awaken. Like when we awaken in the morning, bodhi means to emerge from the darkness into the light of consciousness. But sometimes this term, right, is used time to awaken or to wake up. And something about that and some of this the language at the time of my teenagehood had to do with transcendence. And I remember even learning that word as a teenager, transcendence, meaning something about getting out of the state that you're in and into some new, more wakeful condition. No, some new, more amazing state of consciousness. But this notion that I remember carrying in myself that transcendence had to do with a kind of a leap out of where I am and into something new. This idea of getting rid of all the discomfort, all the suffering, and getting into the bliss and the joy and the so something about leaving and coming to the new, transcendence, waking up. But over time, And I remember, I think I said this in my book, Wakeful Body, but there's a moment that I remember so vividly being a teenager, 15 or 16 years old, and sitting in a zendo in Grass Valley, California. It was actually Gary Snyder's Zendo. Do you know Gary Snyder? I don't know if you know Gary Snyder is. Was a poet. He's a poet. He's alive, right? Poet and a naturalist and living off the grid. He was a real inspiration to me as a child, a friend of my father's. So we were at his Zendo. We were meditating in this actually very similar environment to the one that I'm in right now with all these Douglas firs here, just like this. It was looking like this out the Zendo. And I remember feeling like I have this urge, I so want to wake up. I want to transcend. I want to leap sort of into this peace that I've heard so much about. And I remember that rising as we were sitting in silence for the weekend and keeping silence and doing long sits. First time I'd ever done long sits at 15, and it was going for 3 days or so, and just this urge, almost this nervous energy. I just want to leap out. I just want to get out and into, and somehow, all around me was this blissful silence, and the fir trees and the pine trees and the smells and the birds and the sunshine. I remember how beautiful it was, and that I somehow felt like I had to be somewhere else that wasn't where I was. And now looking back on that moment, just feeling, oh, the whole idea of what it means to wake up has changed for me from that time till now. And how it's changed has very much to do with direction. That I used to believe, and for years, long time, into my 20s, that waking up was about transcending suffering and about transcending the state that we're in. And now my belief system, very different, that it's about coming back down, coming home to where we are, that actually waking up is waking down and not waking out or up at all, but waking into this body and waking into this present moment and waking into exactly what's happening right now. And that deeper you go into that, the closer you are to this Bodhi. And in particular, the key to waking down is not the mind. I mean, what we would call the mind, not this intelligent, um, super cognitive tool that we have at our disposal that is so amazing. We've all been taught, and our culture is going to bring us to the peak of our success, this mind that is going to unlock our personal survival, especially in our culture, right? Not being so much agrarian, or that somehow the mind is the key. And that, no, I'm not dissing the mind here. Mind is amazing. I'm so grateful for my mind. But when it comes to Bodhi, when it comes to the spiritual path, much of what we're doing is getting down into intimacy with what is. And what is being experienced through this physical medium, this animal body. And this animal body has much to teach this intellectual tool, this mind, what we would call the mind. The body has so much to teach the mind. And of course, putting aside that, yes, mind and body never been separate, right? But in our sort of conventional experience of things, sometimes we're just up in the head, right? That's how our experience is. And sometimes we're in our body, especially when we're moving, right? Especially when we're moving. And so how does the body teach the mind? Or how do we wake down? What is it about the body that is especially wise? What wisdom, what vehicle of knowledge, what pathway does the body offer us that the mind, a thinking mind, can't really do for us? And so I want to focus just today on four ways the body is a doorway to waking, to awakening. How is the body the doorway? And if those of you have read The Wakeful Body, that's my book, many of you have read that, I'm sure, um, have seen these ideas there, but I haven't often taught about the four doorways. And so the four doorways that I like to come home to around the body's wisdom that I use as touch points or reminders, the bigger frame of why do we need to stay close to this home, is first, the body grounds us. The body grounds us. And so the mind, especially our intellectual mind, our thinking mind, is not very grounded. Very, it is flying all over the place, into the past, into the future, remembering, sometimes savoring the memories, sometimes hurting from the painful memories, like carrying the stories that we carry from our childhood, the mind that ruminates on our past, wishes we could rewrite, right? Um, Not very grounded out there back in the past, and also up in the future, running into the imaginary, what might happen, what we anticipate, and takes us away from what is right now, what's happening right now. And then also just the mind that is chewing on making stories in the present moment about what it's seeing, projecting, for example, projecting sometimes on the environment, sometimes on others, right? Projecting our fears and our hopes, projecting our imaginary ideas on the world, right? This imputing meaning here and there, right? Not very grounded, very, very, very flighty. But the body is always holding us in this grounded space, and it's choiceless, right? We are so drawn. We are physically, this body, drawn to the planet below. We are little planets that have from their very inception been connected to this mother earth. We've been birthed out of another earth body into this body, and we are held here by the force of gravity. And the force of gravity, I think we are often thinking of that as a conceptual thing. Yeah, something we learned about when we heard about Isaac Newton and the apple falling on the ground, this theory of gravity. But gravity is a force that you can feel in your body. It is very real and very um, physical. When you bring your attention down to that place where your body is touching the earth, there is this deep groundedness down there. The body knows we belong here. And for myself, that's also been useful, even as a reflection when I'm struggling with feelings of not belonging. You have those feelings. We all have those feelings, I think, sometimes when we're in a group or when we're with our in-laws or whatever it is. Like, I don't belong, I don't fit in. When we have those thoughts, it can be so helpful just to come down to the base of the body in that present moment when you're having those thoughts and realizing, no, I belong right here. And the earth is reminding me I am an earthling. I am the child of this earth. And that helps me a lot with remembering that wherever I am, I belong, right? Wherever we are, we belong. Earth is reminding us. So the body is grounded, the first wisdom of the body. And it can teach this flighty mind how to be still and settled. If we keep listening to the groundedness of the body, the mind gets on board eventually, and it starts to ground and become more of a refuge that we can hold and be a part, take a deeper seat in our awareness when we notice that we're grounded. So the body is grounded. And the second wisdom of the body is the body tells the emotional truth. Raylan, can you write these in the chat? Could you do that? The body grounds you. That's the first one. And the second one is the body tells the emotional truth. And the second one, so there was a time I was remembering back to being at a conference. I was in Atlanta, Georgia. I was at Emory University for a conference on science and Buddhism. And um, at the time, I was starting to write The Wakeful Body, the book, and I was beginning to, I'd written some chapters and, some pieces, how books come together as just kind of these chunks of reflection and writing or whatever. And I went into one of these, so we did like a breakout in the conference where, you could go to, there were something like 30 topics, and you could go to whichever classroom. There were lots of classrooms. You could choose your topic and go to that classroom, and that would be where we would be talking about this particular topic. And the topic was something like the body and meditation or something like that. And there was this monk there who was a Sakya monk, Tibetan monk, and he was young. I think he might have been 30. And he stood up to give his little, he was, it was like a panel, so there were a few different people giving these little presentations. And he said, the mind lies to me, but the body tells the truth. That was how he started his talk that he was giving. The mind lies to me, but the body tells the truth. And I felt like, how you get truth bumps. I got truth bumps, goosebumps, truth bumps, truth bumps, this sense of the tingling of the truth of what he was saying and how much that resonated with my own experience. And that was where I started to, more deeply move into this, yeah, that's really true. The body has a certain kind of truth telling. So we could say the body tells the emotional truth. Our mind can tell us lots of stories about what we should do, what's the logical thing for us to be doing, what's the logical direction our life should be taking right now. But sometimes there's an alternative story that's going on in the body where the body is like, no, that doesn't feel right at all, because the body is sensing into some deeper impulses that have to do with connection, survival, attachment, uh, some of the deeper, more limbic parts of our animal body that responds to different cues, that's not responding to logic, but's responding to where am I safe and where am I connected and where am I loved and where can I most effectively deliver my emotional gifts that those kinds of messages don't come so much from the thinking mind. They come from the nervous system, from the feeling body. They're a deeper kind of knowledge. And and it's not that we don't want to listen to the problem solving, but we have no problem listening to the thinking mind. So we don't have to like worry about I've gotta the thinking mind is pretty dominant, but that feeling body, that emotional truth that comes from the body, it takes a lot more openness and attention to access it. And we can access it just sometimes by dropping down and asking, what does my body have to say about this direction? What does my body have to say about this particular narrative that I'm telling myself in words? What does my body have to say about that? And sometimes the truths we discover there are so different from what the story that the mind is saying. The mind might be telling us something quite untrue, and the body is telling us that's something that's deeply emotionally true. The body or the mind might be telling us something that's logically so, but the body is telling us something that's emotionally so. So we can start to tune into those messages, and we can start to just, in an open-ended way, ask, what does my body have to say about this? And I would say, starting from the moment I started writing that book, The Wakeful Body, I started asking myself that. And even when I would sit down to write, I would ask myself, before putting my hands on the keyboard, what does my body want to say right now? And then I let that be the opening point. So the body tells the emotional truth, it tells emotional truths, maybe. And then the third of these, could say these doorways that the body provides us with, is the body reminds you that you are an animal. The body reminds you that you are an animal. And that happens in all kinds of ways, right? Every day, the body is reminding us, I need to eat. The body's reminding us, I need to go to the bathroom. The body's reminding us, I'm not just this thinking mind, I am an animal. And I respond like an animal would respond. I respond to being in touch with the natural world with alertness and curiosity and openness. The natural world wakes up the animal in us and reminds us, oh, I am an animal deep down. And the animals in us have a wisdom very close to this emotional truth. The animal in us knows I am interconnected and interdependent with everything and everyone around me. And this thinking mind can have all kinds of ideas about how we are a separate self, how I am my identity, I am my career, or I am my connections to this particular tribe, or I am my thoughts, right? I am what I think. I think, therefore I am, right? So our thinking mind doesn't remember very much that we're an animal. I think our thinking mind has separated ourselves out, both as individuals who are separate from the rest of the world, and our thinking mind has separated us out as a human tribe that is not animal. But there's some part of us, the animal part of us, that knows that isn't really so, that knows we are deeply connected. And that wisdom really has a potential to help us move from the state that we're in as a species to a much greater state of interdependence, and an acknowledgement that we can't get through this time, through these dark times, without remembering we are animals. And what we're doing to the planet is going to kill the animals, including this one right here, right? So the more we remember that we are animals, the less harm we are likely to do to life. So That wisdom is the third of the wisdoms of waking down, the doorways, how our body helps us wake up by waking down. And the fourth one, and I save this for the fourth because I think it may in some ways be the most profound, or the most, at least for me, um, maybe the most mm, important, is that the body lives in the now. The body's wisdom is a wisdom of the now, or the body brings you into the now. Let's say for Raylan, if you could write that in, the body brings you into the now. So that's the fourth one. Body brings us into the present moment in a way that the mind isn't as capable of doing. As soon as we come down into what the body is feeling, something as simple as a backache, even, we are in the present moment. We might be suffering in the present moment, but we're there in the present moment. We are there. Or as soon as we turn our attention to what our ears are hearing, we are in the present moment. The body is not living in the future, and the body isn't living in the past. Not that the memories do carry themselves in our nervous system, no question, but the body is living primarily in the now. And as soon as we turn our attention to something that's happening in our sense field in the now, the whole mind gets drawn into that. I am now in the now. And that place in the now is where we are living our life. It's where our life is really happening. And so that fourth one, that fourth wisdom of the body, is helping us to not miss our life. I mean, can you imagine getting to the end of your life and realizing you weren't really there while you were living it? So it feels so important to me, this fourth one, what the body can do for us by really drawing us into what's happening and then teaching us that it's exciting to dwell there. The body is alert. It's alert in the present moment. So those four doorways for me have been a real touchstone, like a kind of way to frame what I'm doing on this spiritual path, what's happening on the spiritual path, is this return away, and I've got a way on my path, lots of learning and lots of, gathering of techniques and practices and inspiration, but everything keeps leading me back here, right here, to this temple right here that's just present, just breathing, just being, and to this possibility that what we call this waking up is actually a coming home, actually a waking down into this just present human body. And I think it's so important to remember that, because in many ways the culture that we live in, and even the religions that we've grown up in, have denigrated the body. I mean, and this is a big sweeping statement, but there's many corners of our culture in which the mind is elevated, and this idea of spirit is elevated, and the body is just this detritus that's left behind. This body is unclean. This body um, is failing us, right? We're aging. And so I'd like to, think that actually what we're doing is we're returning. And even in the physical sense, we're returning to the earth. We're not aging, we're coming back down into the earth, into a slow relationship into the earth. We will one day be reclaimed by this earth. And that's not a bad thing. That's okay. So these are just some of my reflections for this morning. And I would so love to hear from you too, and what you're reflecting. And maybe we could start by just opening the chat. Raylan, if you could open the chat And if just if you're inspired as that chat gets opened, whether or not you raise your hand to share or ask a question or whatever you'd like to bring into the space, you could put down in that chat just one way the body has taught you, like my body has taught me, and then just, a sentence or so. I'd love to see where your body wisdoms have come through your life too. And also feel free to raise your hand, and I'm happy to take those questions or comments on our time together. I'm turning into gallery so I can see you guys. Or sharings, stories. Oh, I love that. Humility. My body teaches me humility. Yeah, yeah. The limitations of the physical body are a powerful teacher. Define my limits. Yeah, yeah. Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, if any hands come up, Raylan, can you help me with that? Patience, yeah. Yeah, if you want to open the chat too, you can see some of these body teachings here.
We
Oh,
also
that's great.
Mary Kiley has her hand up.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Lama Willa. Thank you for this. I haven't articulated this even to myself fully yet. But I've been noticing something recently. I've had several deaths in the last couple of years, and very recently I have had an experience of my grief from the most recent death just be an embodied experience without necessarily even any memories attached. And
Mm,
it has been such a gift. It has just been, it's been beautiful.
mm, mm,
And uh, yeah, I've just been so grateful for it. And of course, once it wells up in me, some things come to mind, but it has been primarily of an embodied experience. And
mm,
it's very clear what it is connected to. Um, but it's not conceptual. So
mm, mm. That's beautiful. It sounds like that just your contacting it in your body has also given you permission to grieve or something
um,
of that nature, like the feelings, permission for them to pour out. I think sometimes in grief we can feel this sense of loneliness and shame, like I should be over this by now. Why is this afflicting me, as opposed to just how natural that is. Thank you, Mary, for sharing that. Beautiful. Any other sharings today? Taught me, my body has taught me that forgiveness of myself is non-negotiable. Oh, yeah, that's great. That's great. Forgiveness. Yes, that's amazing. Feeling in my body teaches me compassion for self and others. Yeah. Yeah, what we're feeling is what others are feeling too. That's one of the reasons I'm we shouldn't worry about emotion. Grief, oh my God. I mean, if we didn't have grief, if we didn't have these human feelings, we would not know. If we didn't have pain, we wouldn't know what pain felt like to others. Pain is the doorway to compassion. Suffering is the doorway to compassion. And something we don't often think about. I think we think of suffering as that which we do not want, that which we need to get rid of. And actually, it is our gift. It's the gift of being human that we can empathize. Okay, now I really know what this feels like. My body has taught me to always trust my stomach, as the mother of one of my young clients advised her daughter. I love that. Yeah. So much more about energy. Yeah, energy. Yeah. The energy in our body is such a teacher. Is such a teacher. So recently, I'm just sharing, as no hands are up right now. Um, yeah, I've been post-divorce, and yeah, meeting people, and noticing that what it's all really about, connection to others. It's all about energy, you know. We think it's about uh, checklists, but it's about energy, and the body really knows that, or teaches that. Yeah. Raylan.
Thank you, Lama Willa. My question is about impulse and how, like in meditation practice, we're training and practicing like not to follow like impulse. And I'm wondering if you can speak to like discerning and differentiating when when to actually engage and follow an impulse that feels like, I don't know, true or
What the
genuine.
body's saying, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think somehow, there has to be a graceful relationship between the body's wisdom and the mind's discernment, because a lot of can flow through our body, and sometimes without even knowing it. There's deep patterns stored in our nervous system, and those are mixing with whatever truths it is that we're experiencing in the body. And just being able to discern when we're acting from, these deep trauma stories that we might be carrying in our nervous system, and when we're acting from a deep body wisdom, you know, and just sort of discerning with our thinking mind, partly, noticing, oh yeah, this is even then, though, the body often c- comes to bear on telling us where where its truths come from, where its impulses come from. If we ask it, where does this coming from? And it may show us, oh, this memory is suddenly there. Oh yeah, when I was really young, I had this fear, and now the fear is here again, and maybe I can do some work with that part of myself that's afraid. And maybe there isn't as much to be afraid of here as I thought. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's some relationship between the discernment and the truth of the body that is there, that is important. Does that address what you're asking, or?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have
Val, hi Val.
I'm glad I waited to raise my hand until Raylan asked that question because I've been like this whole time trying to formulate coherently the thoughts that I'm having. But I think that question and that answer tie into what's kind of percolating for me, because I work with trauma in the body and like all of these teachings are true. And then I ask that question. And I think to go off of your answer, the magical thing that happens when people bring attention to the impulse that is trauma, like a trauma story, it dissolves. It has the potential to actually dissolve and change instead of repeating. So there is this beautiful um, joining of like discerning, but of wisdom of mind with body to help, yeah, dissolve those patterns and reveal the true, what's beneath. You know, with when people are having just like a little anxiety in their body, and I invite them to, excuse me, for the weather, and I invite them to notice the sensations in their body of the anxiety very quickly. If it's just one of those, you know, little quick trains, it just dissolves. It just goes away. And they're like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, that's magic. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but these teachings and that way of this way of kind of coming at it just feels like it really clarifies to me what's happening in that experience. So I just kind of wanted to share all of that. And then what you were just saying about it's totally an aside, but in kind of finding in the dating scene and following energy instead of mind. I really needed to hear that today. So thank
Oh
you.
yeah.
Gotta
Yeah. It's all about the energy. That's why I've decided. It's all about the But
get it.
anyway, yeah. 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 Well, thanks for sharing that, Val. Yeah, and it's interesting when you are dealing with trauma, as a trauma therapist yourself, Val, you notice that the stories can be so heavy and overwhelming, and the memories can be so heavy and difficult and overwhelming. But when you meet the emotion in the body, like the anxiety or the fear or the anger, it's suddenly there's a place to meet it there, and it's something that can be coped with. Oh, it's just a feeling. It's not like this huge overwhelming thing. It's a feeling, and I can find it with my therapist's help, or usually that's how we might start, right? I can find the feeling in my stomach, in my heart racing, in my shoulders, and I can befriend it in the body. It might be hard to befriend the story. It might be hard to befriend the memory, because the memory just kicks up the anger again, just kicks up the fear. But you can befriend the feeling, and you can learn to befriend that, and to be with that in a way that it's really hard to be with the story sometimes. Gives another doorway. And you know this, but anyway, I'm just re-articulating on the.
I love that way. Sorry to jump back in, but I love that way of saying it. The body is the place where they can meet and be befriended. That's really, yeah, thank you.
Mm, mm. All right, everyone. It is so good to see you. And this might have been up a few. I'm going to have another 5 minutes here because I do. There's someone here. Oh, Aparna. The body teaches me to embrace seemingly disparate aspects of myself, letting go of judgment and the fixing impulse. Can you say more about that? I love what you said, and I want to understand more what you were thinking.
Sure. Um, I guess for me, sometimes coming into the body, it's like there's so many different signals sometimes. It's like there's different emotions and thoughts and feelings and sensations in different parts. And it's like all kind of, it's all part of the experience, you know, like the same way, like the senses can have so many different inputs and like the kind of like the internal senses then. So the same way like in a storm, wind, trees, birds, all of that's happening outside. It's like at the same time there's kind of all of that happening inside. And as we were just talking about discernment and awareness and like what's memory or what is present sensation or you know, just all these different layers. And it's like, okay, like it's okay to be like the whole landscape, you know, the whole environment can be there and contained and grounded in the external landscape also. Like, okay, muscles, skin, memories, tensions, nerves, thoughts, like it's all there, but like not so conscious usually unless it's yeah, the attention is allowed to be there, and then that kind of relaxing and embracing about these parts that don't need to logically make sense, but hey, they're all there.
Mm,
So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I love that way of thinking about it. And yeah, the body like this wild universe, and it's all fine. It's natural, right? We are human and we're going to have a
exactly.
wild universe. No matter what we do, we're going to have wild. We can't make it less wild in here. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so sorry, last thanks. So thank you for this practice because it is so holding to remember that, you know, there's that whole wild wilderness inside and outside and, you know, sacred mandala outside and inside, and that includes all all the factors and things at the same time in the present moment. So
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's
practice.
so great. And there are in to be alert to there being these teachings, not just, I mean, in religion, but also in Buddhism, that can sound like they're really, these are okay and these aren't okay. And I take issue with that actually. I mean, I understand, right, that of course, when we act out some of these parts, we can cause harm, but there's no innate wrongness to our humanity and or rightness. It's just this, it is the, like you said, the sacred mandala. It's all the sacred mandala, and embracing that makes for a much less harmful world. If we can do that kindly, you know, with ourselves, we can do it much more kindly with others too. And that is such a big part of why we practice. It's that embracing of the full on wildness of our being without judgment, with kindness. And that's a, in some ways now, I think that is, yeah, the essence of what we're doing in the Dharma is not not a, yeah, not a fixing, but an accepting, a deep sense of acceptance of all those parts, and a loving those parts into freedom, not forcing them into freedom or fixing them into freedom, but loving them into freedom. Yeah, thanks, Aparna. All right, everybody. So I'd love to end today's. Oh yeah, Raylan, what do you have something there?
Thank you, Lama Willa. I just wanted to just give a brief announcement about one of our practices here at Natural Dharma Fellowship, which is dana. Dana means generosity in Pali, in Sanskrit. And you all have been so generous with your participation here. Just wanted to put in the chat a link if you do feel so moved by today's teaching. If you wanted to make a financial gift, you can ask your body, and I will put the link in the chat box here. Thank you.
Thank you, Raylan. And we tend to end our Dharma Sundays with a dedication prayer, which is this wish for the benefit to spread out for all beings, that we don't keep it to ourselves, but we let it ripple out. And so we'll do a dedication together here at the end. You could bring up our bodhicitta prayer. Thank you, Raylan. Changchu Samcho Rinpoche Mache Panam Che Jorchi Che Panyam Pamipayam Gongdu Gongne Gongdu Power. May the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion, unstoppably until all are fully illumined and awakened. Thank you all for coming, and please feel free to come anytime to our Dharma Sundays. We have one every Sunday, but I'm here about once a month or so. And we also have our core meditation retreat for the winter coming up in January online. It's all online, and it includes the opportunity to take refuge in Bodhisattva vows if that's something that has interested you. It's a nice way to start the year. So I just mention it because it has gone up there and much of our rest of our calendar hasn't yet. I mean, there's things between now and then, but that's one I wanted to mention for those of you that want to keep up the online connection. That's a good one for connecting more deeply with the practices and with sangha. Thank you, everyone. So good to see you, and have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.